my guests is Mr. Tade Ipadeola, a poet and also a lawyer. The studio number to call is 090-4398-9187. So I have this here by Ari Stroman, who said, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. You've discussed that.
Yes.
But I want to, how can reading positively impact a career?
Aha.
Moving into the professional,
the nitty gritty of it now. I'll give you this example from my profession, the law profession.
Yes, sir.
I finished law school in 1991, and in my class from the university, we have today really fantastic lawyers. I can mention John Dare Oluyede, Mutiu, Ganiu. These are fantastic lawyers. I mean, international standard lawyers. But going back, one thing that was apparent, even from when they were students, was that they were going to be where they are today because they read. Somebody like Mutiu Ganiu in Lagos read the Nigeria Weekly Law Report every week as it came out. That's a habit he had as a student in the university. That's a habit he has today. Our junior in university by 1 year, Professor Dapo Akande at Oxford, who is now, I think, the representative of the UK in the world body. So, the Yoruba people have a saying. They say, "Omotiyo jashamu, kekere niti jeno shamu shamu." Those of us who detested reading those days, you can also see they can be rich. They can be, because Yoruba also say that owoko nira. They can be very, very rich lawyers because you can sell a house and make 10%, and that's a lot of money if the house is in Lagos or Abuja. But you can see that the market naturally segregates as you go along. The same thing is true for medicine. And I'll give you one other example before we go on to the next question. So, my doctor here in Ibadan is a second generation doctor. By that I mean his parent, his father was a doctor, is a medical doctor before he became a medical doctor. So one time like that, I went to see him with a complaint, and he examined me for very, very briefly, and he said to me, "Mr. Ipadeola, you have a condition called plantar fasciitis, and this and this and this are the things you need to do because you are now not a spring chicken, you are middle age now." And yes, the moment he said it and I started observing all those measures, my health returned 100%. Now, about a year or two later, I went to the same hospital, but for some reason on that day, the doctor wasn't around. So a very bright young doctor was there, took my case, listened to me, and diagnosed what was the matter with me within 10 minutes or so, and prescribed drugs. So about a week later, I went to give the report, and I said, "You are fantastic doctors in this place. How do you do your selection?" And he said, "Well, this and this and this. Remember, this is a second generation operation." So what it means is that the second generation of a reading or third generation of a consistently reading family will have that much more bigger store of knowledge. It will look, Yoruba people say, "Adavidon." It will look like magic when you are dealing with them because they really understand this business. Look at what the Jews did with diamond business, for example. Anywhere in the world you go, you say you want diamond, they know what to do, because that's not the first guy who is dealing in diamonds. That's probably the third generation guy that's dealing in diamonds. So the ability of reading to impact not just your generation but subsequent generation is incalculable. One of the tragedies we have right now in Nigeria is that we have Yahoo or 419 or obtaining by false pretenses. Why? Because some of these young people think that until you have money, you don't mean a thing, which is not true. Some of them have natural abilities. In fact, I was in court one occasion when one of these guys was being tried by a combined team of Nigerian policemen and FBI.
Wow.
This boy was so dangerous that whenever he comes online, he has a forum where he does tutorials. That's the difference between a reading criminal and a criminal.
We also have a reading criminal.
There is such a thing.
Information.
The really dangerous criminals are the criminals who read. Whenever this boy comes online, by the way, his password was Kilonshele.
You just imagine, we are just there, we are not reading.
We are not.
And the criminals, they are reading.
They are reading. So he will tell them, well, if you want to do fake travelers checks, the best time to do it in a country like Germany is 12 in the afternoon, because all the bank's clerks are busy. They are distracted. If you want to do, and the FBI had to take interest, because that kind of criminal is more dangerous than any other kind. Because not only is he bad, he's teaching other people to be bad, and they know that this boy knows what he's talking about. So he will say, if you want to do this operation in Malaysia, don't go through this airline, because they are very thorough. They will screen you. So reading has both positive and negative potentials. So it brings us to the responsibility of parents who you have a duty to expose your children or your wards to the best reading materials available. It's not too early.
It's not too early
to start showing them the right stuff. Once they get hooked on the right stuff, they won't depart. But if you let them go the other way, they will be listening to Kilonshele, and you'll be wondering where you got it wrong.
You know, sir, I'm actually thinking, if Nigeria has a reading leader, we would have moved on. So the
no
second
questions.
No
questions about that. If we had, I keep saying that. Look,
you mentioned second generation,
third generation.
So now this generation coming, now we say the youth, we want them to lead. This generation, are they reading?
See, take our state or your state, for example. You see, we will never be Lagos State. It's not a curse. Lagos State is a port state. Lagos State is the heart of commercial activity. In fact, no state in Nigeria will catch up with Lagos economically. But Oyo State will remain, if we do the right things, the cultural capital of not just Nigeria but Africa. People forget that Mbari Club was in Ibadan.
Mbari, I remember. People
came from Gambia, from South Africa to some of the best African poets published in Ibadan for the first time. So what we need is to compound 3 generations down that cultural capital that we have acquired. But I went to register at the Oyo State Public Library at Dugbe. It is in a worse state today than the way Chibola Ege left it. When Chibola Ege left, it was stocked full. It was contemporary. I'm going to appeal to the Governor Seyi Makinde, to look into this part. We cannot have a state where there is no library in every local government. That means every local government has to have an up-to-date library. Not only will you employ that many librarians, trained librarians, your environment will increase in depth, in richness. If you do this, you will have less people troubling you for yahoo. You will have less people troubling you as armed robbers. Even ritualists. Because if you read, you will know that there is no such thing as money ritual, and that the best way to have wealth is to work.
Yeah.
And if you apply yourself intelligently, you will have at least comfortable living throughout, and not cut your life short or spend your life in prison because you believed a lie that there's such a thing as money ritual somewhere.
Now, university libraries. I visited. Should I say it?
No. We are at that point where we have to say everything now.
I visited the Premier University, the library, and I could only find. I was looking for a book. I did a tour. They didn't know where I was coming from, so I just did a tour. And the books were not up to date. The literatures were not there. Should we only be reading academic textbooks?
ASU has said that the best university library in Nigeria is at least 10 years behind.
Right.
So in some cases, 20 years behind. I was at the University of Iowa for a residency program for 3 months, and you naturally have to subscribe to their library. So I encountered a 24-hour library for the first time. 24-hour library.
So if you don't want to go, you stay.
There is no hour that you won't find a librarian on hand to help you. And this is how they do it. So they have graduate students who are in library studies, media studies, who do part-time work. And they increase the circulation. When you default in returning the book on time, you pay a nominal fee, $5, $10, and they keep going. We can do the same here. I asked, the moment I got back to Ibadan, I asked one of the more experienced librarians, university librarians at the Premier University, and he said, well, they tried it one time, but they had problems. One, they didn't have 24. If you have to run a 24-hour library service, your library must have electricity for 24 hours. He said, one, they did not have 24-hour electricity. So you can see how our lack of infrastructure makes certain things difficult. If we are serious by now, if no other library in Nigeria can do it, the University of Ibadan library should be able to run a 24-hour library service. Let me now give you the shocker. The University of Iowa is known as the Reading University.
The Reading University.
In fact, the program that took me there has produced more Pulitzer winners than any other university in America. So the library is not just open to students, it is open to the citizens of Iowa City.
That's very good.
That is the way to go. But we are at least 20 years from that. I mean, can we even boast of a state-of-the-art library for the students? So the solution is to have leaders who are readers. When you want to choose your next local government administrator, ask Oga, do you have library card? How many books have you read? Not just how much is in your account.
Yeah.
When you want to choose your governor, ask Oga, what book are you currently reading? What books will we find on your bedside? Look at Fashola, of former governor of Lagos State. Whether he was using the books for decoration or he was actually reading it.
The books are actually
the books there. I saw into his car once. He came for a function at Muson Center. He had at least 5 books.
Imagine.
in the back seat that he was reading. Now, he himself knows that he's governor of Lagos State. Whether he is a governor or an ordinary citizen, he will still spend an hour inside traffic if he's coming from island to mainland. So he uses that time to read. Do we have governors who do that around the country? And I can tell you that the difference Fashola made in Lagos is still there till today, because he's a leader who reads. See, your mind is programmed to help you understand your environment. Textbooks alone will not do it. As a matter of fact, the reason why most of us don't read is because we were forced to read textbooks.
We are forced, yes.
Read for fun.
Anything, newspapers,
Read.
magazines.
Even drug prescriptions.
Some people don't even read that.
Some people use medicine without reading their prescription properly. The thing you should use after you have only eaten, they will take it on empty stomach and then they will faint because they didn't take the time.
Yes.
Some people will buy expensive cars and not read the owner's manual. So they will go and put the wrong oil in the car and shorten the life of the car. Your ability to read improves everything. Look, a reading child is a happier child. And as a parent or guardian, you yourself will be more relaxed, because you know this child is busy expanding his mind, his vocabulary, his mathematical skills, his quantitative skills, and so on and so forth. So that aspect I'm a poet.
I'm going to go to that part. We still have a few minutes left.
Okay.
If I give you 2 hours, you keep talking.
No, I'll keep talking. Yes, I'm a poet. So I first came to reading as fun. Poetry is fun. You want to see what magical tricks. It's like when you pay to go and watch Jeju Okocha play football.
Okay.
You know that he's going to do something wonderful. Jeju Okocha is the only Nigerian footballer that will lose penalty match, smile, and Nigerians will not stone him. They automatically they forgive him ahead because they know that yes, he has lost the penalty, but he's going to compensate for that thing.
Yes.
When you spend 1,000 naira paying to go and watch a Jeju Okocha match, you know that 1,000 naira is not lost. That's the way reading should be. When you the day I felt most fulfilled as a parent was the day I took my boys to the to booksellers, Musoro booksellers, and they were saying, Daddy, it's been a long time we came here last. When are we coming next?
Wow.
So I knew that I had succeeded in doing something that these children now know that the place to visit is a bookshop. They are the ones saying, oh, I want to buy this one too. I want to buy, and I said, no, well, one thing at a time. Your daddy is not a millionaire. so they once they are in that space where reading becomes exciting, stimulating, your job is half done.
Our job is half done. You know, on this program, I usually say people should take their children to libraries, to bookstores, as young as let's say 3 years, 5 years. Let them start seeing it. Let's cultivate that habit of reading. So now let's quickly go into that poetry.
Okay.
We've discussed leadership, we've discussed the readership, we've discussed the solution to reading is having leaders who are readers, and we've discussed the benefits of reading, and now poetry. I read somewhere in one of your profile.
Okay.
You said poetry cannot be produced without discipline, consistency, and patience. Now, what are the qualities of a good poetry?
You know what you have to do if you want to become a medical doctor.
Yes.
You go to school, you go to medical school, and you pass through this rigor, and you become a medical doctor. But how do you become a poet? So, poetry, the number one ingredient is imagination.
Imagination.
Yes. First of all, the imagination. how wide is your imagination? Then secondly, the discipline of brevity. Yoruba,
discipline of brevity.
yes. Yoruba people say kidun koko shoki lobe oge. This is saying that the most pithy, the most potent expressions are usually short. You're a lady, but you understand that a long skirt and a mini skirt don't have the same impact.
Yes.
Poetry is the mini skirt. It is the equivalent of the mini skirt. When used correctly, it has a certain effect. But variety is the third, what I'll call the third element. So when you are reading a Wole Soyinka poem, for example, let's say Civilian and Soldier, or Abiku, or Telephone Conversation, you know that this is a man who has lived a very varied life. He can bring an image from the UK, he can bring an image from Asia, he can bring an image. What did I do, by the way? What did I do with the poem Odidere or Songbird that won the Delphic Laurel in 2009? They said we should describe the state of the world. And I was struggling. What will I say to these people that they don't know before? I was taking a stroll from my office.
Okay.
Very close to the High Court here.
Yes.
I was going down that road that goes to Oni and Sons, the hospital. And the Yoruba expression just came to me. Adieba lokun, aro rokun, aro rade. All I had to do was translate into English. So when there was a French man, a Japanese woman, a Korean man, and a Mongolian on the panel of judges. So when they saw it, they said, "This is a wonderful image. A chicken on the wire." And I said to myself,
So chicken on the wire.
Look at I was simply doing what Professor Wole Soyinka did, for example, when he said X began a rapid dialogue with his feet. I
love listening to him.
Yeah. So we have a wealth within our culture. Sometimes the things we need to do is simply to bring it to the wider world in a fresh way. And then they will be saying, wow. Meanwhile, our people have been doing it for generations.
So thank you, sir. So imagination, how wide is your imagination? There's elements of poetry, discipline, of brevity.
Yes.
Then the variety. Yes. I won't forget that chicken on the wire for a long time. I won't forget that. Thank you so much, sir. And then final question as a lawyer. This question, I must ask this question. We have libel.
Yes.
We have slander.
Yes.
And as a publisher, we sometimes fall into this libel.
Yes.
So I want to just briefly, is there a law guiding this libel thing in Nigeria? Then two, if the alleged claim is true, that publisher, you've written this thing, you published this thing, then the publisher cannot be sued if it's true.
Well, the publisher can be sued, but he will win. The publisher will win, because there's a defense called justification. Now, defamation is the broad head under which slander and libel fall. Slander is what is transient, what is said, for example, on the air and is not recorded. Libel is what is published, for example, in a book. There are laws that guide these things, and I think we want to push the boundaries, because the books that tell us the truth, they are the ones that readers want to buy. But when you tell the truth, sometimes you risk certain litigation risks. So my advice to publishers will be, let your lawyers read the manuscript through before you publish, so that you can be very, very, very protected with a defense of justification, for example, so that you are not exposed, because libel has potential to take away all your profits for a whole year or even more if it is shown.
What about the author? Is the author that brought the
yes, normally what the person who is wronged will do is sue both the author and the publisher, because without the publisher the lie cannot travel. So, and it's actually more important today than maybe 20-30 years ago, because now we have the internet. And if you say something and 50,000 visitors to that website see it, you are in a worse situation than when you publish a book and only 1,000 people have bought the book or read the book. So don't be stingy. Make sure your lawyer reads these things before. The bigger your publishing house, the bigger your studio, the closer your friendship with your lawyer should be.
That reminds me, there was a work we worked on together. There was a manuscript we worked on together, and while I was reading the manuscript, I had to call you. Remember?
Yes.
This is going to be
problematic.
Yes. And I want to say thank you for the help over the years, and thank you for coming on this program.
It's a pleasure, always a pleasure.
For the poem, so the poetry, have you heard of this guy, Nas the poet, Alamin?
Yes.
Okay.
Nas the poet.
I'm not sure I have a copy of his book here,
but his book is ready.
Yes.
I hope he enters this. This is the year for the poetry prize in the Nigeria Prize for Poetry, NLNG sponsored.
Yes.
So make sure you remind Nas to submit the poem this year.
Okay. And
$100,000 is a lot of money.
Okay, I'm going to get a copy, and I wanted to ask about the Sahara Testament, but that is for another day. Another day. Thank you so much, and I'm sure my listeners and those that are watching me on Facebook, they enjoyed Mr. Tade Ipadeola today. Discussion has been on leaders and readers. You can see the difference. If you are a leader, if you are not reading, you cannot move forward. You will just be stagnant. So let's continue reading. Let's keep reading. Reader's Script is all about reading, promoting reading culture. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Tade Ipadeola. And I know you are a busy person and program today. Thank you so much. And I want to thank my engineer. I want to thank the studio.
A wonderful studio.
Thank you so much, sir. So join me next week for another interesting episode. I don't know, maybe Mr. Ipadeola can do a short signature for me, but I will see. I would love to add that to my two signatures. But thank you so much.